3, 2, we are live. What is up, everybody? My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed, and in today's video, we are going to be doing a podcast with my buddy Pierre. Pierre, you want to go and introduce yourself, man?
Hey, what's up? Pierre here. I got a YouTube channel called Real Estate Duck Hunters. I'm really excited to be on the show. Thanks for reaching out, Justin.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you. And I was telling you this the other day, but I want to tell everybody else. It's the weirdest way that I found you. So I was looking into real estate, looking for like some good people to come on the podcast, and I was watching this video with like 1 million views, and you had the top comment on the video. I don't even remember what it was, but I just clicked on your channel, and you had some great information. So
that's such an interesting way to find someone, like through a comment. Like, what are the chances, right?
I know. And it didn't even seem like you were trying to be like, the top comment or whatever.
Dude, I don't even have a lot of subscribers. It's crazy when you reached out. I'm like, dude, this guy's got like tens of thousands of subscribers and he's reaching out to me. You called me and you're like, dude, you dropped this comment. I was like, through a YouTube comment, like, really? So, that's interesting.
It was meant to be, man. So that's, I'm glad to have you, and we'll go ahead and jump right into it. So
Sure.
before we get into it though, can you tell us what duck hunters means for those of people
Oh
who
yeah,
aren't
yeah.
familiar?
I thought it was just kind of like a funny brand name, right? I call dollar bills like cash, bucks, ducks. It's just to have a little funny twist on it. So just duck hunters. Like we chase bucks, man. We chase dollars. That's all we do.
We're getting to the paper.
Yeah. So real estate duck hunters.
Right. And then how'd you make your logo too? Because your logo is like was that a game or something, like an old video game or something?
Yeah, like the old the Duck Hunter for the 64, Duck Hunt. I think it's called Duck Hunt 64. So I just paid someone on Fiverr, man, Fiverr.com.
Dude, Fiverr is like, it's the best place to get it all.
Yeah, for sure.
So give us a little bit of background on yourself. What were you doing before you got into real estate?
Well, so I started in real estate when I was 19. So I've been an employee. I started working when I was 16. So like within high school, I was a junior. And I was a busboy. I started with like my family. We were like lower middle class. So my parents were always so focused on paying for the mortgage. So I couldn't like wear all the cool fancy brand clothes like all the people in high school were wearing. So it's like if I wanted like cool clothing, like a nice cell phone, the fancy gym membership, I had to work. And so that's kind of what I did from 16. So I was a busboy. Then I became a waiter. So I was a waiter through high school. But that got old really fast, man. Like, have you ever worked in the food industry?
Man, I worked at Chili's for I think a month, and then after that I was like, dude, I cannot do this anymore.
Man, it's rough, man. I tell all my students right now, like I recommend everyone work in the food industry for a year because it's really tough work, dude, and it's really customer service based. Like you're talking to people. Some people are really nice, some people are mean. It's a great around experience. So I did that when I was 17, and I thought like the next thing to do was just to work in a more professional environment. So then I became a bank teller at Bank of America. That was terrible, dude. It was so that was
So
like
where was the job in the food service industry at?
It was in a city called Bee Cave, which is in like North Austin.
I just mean like, what was the restaurant there?
Oh yeah, it's just like an Italian restaurant. So
okay,
Italian food, yeah.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, because I worked at Domino's too. I worked at Domino's for a year, so I know all about. Dude, I was like cooking all the pizzas and stuff when I was in high school. Man,
yeah,
it was a rough time, but yeah.
Wow. No, that's wild. But yeah, at the time I'm like, maybe if I get a job where I can wear a suit, like things will be better. So then, I started at Bank of America. That was bad. So then I went over to a credit union. People were like, "Oh, the credit unions treat you better." So I'm like, "Well, let's start at a credit union." And they promoted me to become a personal banker. And that was cool. You learned a lot. But after a year of doing that, it's like, dude, you do the same thing over and over and over again, right? Like people would ask me about like real estate, the stock market, and like you can't answer them. You have to refer them to a different department. It's almost like you're not smart enough to answer these questions. So after that, man, I'm like, I gotta do something else. And so, the only thing I could do that I thought that would be better, without a college degree, because I didn't even have an associate's degree at the time, right? Like I have no college degree. So obviously real estate was sort of the answer, right? I read this book called, you ever read Real Estate Riches by Dolph DeRoos?
I have not. Is that a good book that you would recommend?
Well, you've heard like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the main Robert Kiyosaki, wrote that book, and then the second main guy that like no one knows about, because he never really blew up. His name is Dolph DeRoos, who's a really, really famous and successful real estate broker.
Okay.
And so, I read his book, and it was just so interesting, man. All these little ideas with real estate. And so naturally, it's like if I wanted to learn more about real estate investing, you become a real estate agent, make a lot of money while learning about property. So that's kind of how it started. So, I put in my 2 weeks. I was 19 as a personal banker. And I got licensed in 20 days and then became a real estate agent. So that's sort of the transition.
Dude, that's super awesome. So you read this book, and that's what ultimately got you into real estate then?
Yeah, I mean, I read it. I'm like, dude, the things he talks about in the book, man.
What was the book title one more time? I'm going to actually write it down.
Yeah. Real Estate Riches by Dolph DeRoos.
Okay. Real Estate Riches.
I mean, it's outdated, man, but it's just like these ideas.
Still probably got some good information in it, though, huh?
It's cool, man. I was a 19-year-old kid, and Dolph is like, yo, you can build a carport for your investment property for like $0 if you borrow it from the bank, and then you offer 2 carports, and then you pay your investment back in a year, and then you have like $2,000 coming in every year. I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
So it's like I wanted to learn about the real estate, the industry in general, and so naturally you become an agent is what you do.
Right. And Rich Dad Poor Dad was kind of what actually gave me the push to get into the YouTube scene, because I was like,
really?
Yeah, just like it was talking about diversifying your income and just like all these different things, how the rich get rich and the poor stay poor. And the motor started turning. I was like, dude, how do I, really take advantage of this? So that was definitely a pivotal book for me as well, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So thoughts on college? Did you not go for any specific reason, or was it just...
It was money, man. I mean, just straight up. My parents were like, cool, you graduated high school, but we can't afford college. So you gotta figure it out.
That's either that or the loans, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing is the loans, man. But dude, I feel like the school, I don't know what your belief on the school system, but I feel like the school system is very broken in this country, right? Like people, they go through school. And nowadays it's like, unless you're getting a master's degree or a doctorate degree, it's like, you're kind of wasting your time with a bachelor's. And so it was just so expensive, it's like you're $100,000 in debt with a bachelor's degree.
Right.
And so, it's not something I wanted to do, is just jump, have 6 figures as debt. So what I did for the first 2 years after high school is I went to community college and I funded that for 2 years. It was very, very affordable. So I did that, because that's all I knew how to do really. After being a high school kid, it's like, all right, college. So I funded that. And then after the 2 years credit I built at a community college, it's like the next step was a university. And I couldn't afford it.
Right. No, absolutely. Dude, that's so funny, because I actually got my associate's degree from a community college as well.
Oh, cool.
I think the place that people get into though is like, you graduate high school, 17, 18 years old, and it's like, okay, now you're in the real world. You either can go to the real world or you can go to college. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the ultimatum I had. My parents were like, okay, either get a job and move out or go to college and pursue an education. So it's just one of those things, you know what I mean? It's such a hard place to be, especially for somebody who doesn't know what they want to do for the rest of their lives,
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. It's like, there's these kids that are like 18 coming out of high school, not understanding how the world works. And everyone's like, go to college. Like, debt is okay. $100,000 of debt is okay. It's like, how is that ever okay? Like that's
right. I completely agree.
Yeah. So
we got a super chat here. Reyes the entrepreneur wants to know, ask him how much the gas is to drive around as a real estate agent.
That's a good question, man. It's a lot. One of the secrets I teach in my courses, the first couple of years, I was a traditional real estate agent with apartment locating. It's funny how that transition happened, but I drove a lot. So, it's thousands of dollars of gas, but then within the apartment locating industry, you can actually work remote and like not ever go into an office and not drive around anymore. So I figured that out after a year on the job, and it's been really cool, right? It's like safer, because the gas savings is one thing, but dude, it's also safe. Like I don't like driving because it's so unsafe.
Right.
You have clients that like follow you, or you follow clients to properties, and it's like, that's like how accidents happen, is when people follow you. So it's safer, and you can save gas by working remote.
I love it, man. Yeah, and then that's Reyes. I did an interview with Reyes. He's like, He's got a ton of subscribers, and that's like his catch line too. It's like, Reyes, what about the gas? So anyway,
I get that question a lot too. It's like the people in my group, they're like, hey, how much do I need to budget on gas? And it's like, well, if you work remote, like $0.
right. So how long did it take you to get your license?
Exactly 20 days.
Exactly 20 days. So did you do it online then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the best way to do it.
And you would
Yeah.
recommend other people do that as well?
Yeah, like 110%. Because you can do the classroom setting where you go in, but it just takes longer. And the problem with that is, if you spread out, if you're doing the problem with the real estate exam and the training is that it's so unbelievably general, right? So it's like if you're trying to be an appraiser, or you're trying to do commercial real estate, or you're trying to do apartment locating, which is a niche no one knows about.
Right.
It doesn't really, it's not like a targeted focus on what you're trying to do. It's very, very general. So, in my opinion, the best way to do it is just to pay for whatever is more affordable online, as long as they've got the credentials and it's the minimum what you need to get your license.
Right.
And just kind of just soak up all the knowledge, study, and then pass the test and just get it done as quick as possible. So you can just kind of like throw it up on the exam and pass. So
right. And is the exam like super hard? Because I mean, I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I passed the first time though, but I've had other colleagues that it took them 3, 4, 5 times. So it is hard. It is hard. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, there you go. Study up then, I guess.
Yeah, you got to study up for sure. I mean, I
Absolutely.
passed by 0 questions, by the way. It was
So
funny.
you were like the bare minimum to pass,
Yeah,
right?
it was like questions needed 57, questions correct 57. Like
Oh man,
that'll work for me.
that's perfect. Yeah, we,
Yeah.
we we got it done. Big shout out to Dakota Hall. Dakota Hall sent in a $10 super chat. Man, my buddies are sending in all these super chats. I really appreciate y'all.
That's really cool. What's up, Dakota
Right.
Hall?
Yeah, big shout out to Dakota Hall, man. So like I'm just trying to walk because I want people to kind of come to this as, if they're new or they are interested in getting into real estate, to kind of guide them along. So like the brokerage decision, I know, is a big decision once you get your license. How did you make that? And like, what was the best choice to go to for you?
Yeah, the broker decision, man.
Is that a big decision?
It is a big decision because they're essentially you're going to sign like a partnership with them is what's going on, right? When you're a real estate agent, you need to have several years of experience and like double or triple the amount of coursework and pass an even harder test and become a broker. So you can't be an active real estate agent and do anything real estate related as if you're just an agent without a broker sponsoring you, is the term I see a lot.
Okay.
So you've got to get sponsored before you're active, or not, it's illegal. So it's a big part because they're taking your commission, right? It's the broker. What should happen is the broker offers training. They offer usually an office, is what a lot of traditional brokers do. There's something called a desk fee. And a lot of them actually give you leads that you can work like for free as part of your arrangement. And
Okay.
so they're taking a percentage of your income. So yeah, whenever you're going into a partnership in any part of life, it's very important to take it seriously.
Of
So
course.
yeah,
What advice would you give though, like when looking for the right broker?
man, honestly, it's just to be dead honest, the training with real estate agents that I've seen, and this is my personal opinion, and I've been in the industry for 6 years,
Right.
the training is not top notch. It's not. It's really
Okay.
bad. It's really, really bad. Everyone does the same thing, right? Like they do cold call,
Right.
they'll do open houses, and like that's all the training you get.
Right.
But what I've learned by doing online businesses is that, dude, if you take the online methods on how to market and then bring that into real estate, it's insane, right? You can
Okay.
cut your work hours in half. So the point is, the training isn't that optimal with a lot of brokers that
Okay.
I've worked with. That's not every broker at all,
Right.
nothing against brokers.
Right.
Personally, yeah, but personally, I would recommend going to a broker that first of all, they need to have really, really sharp training. And so interview a few brokers. Don't just go with one broker because like you like the one conversation you had. Like
Right.
interview at least 3 brokers and talk to the agents that are sponsored by them before being sponsored, right? And say, hey, how was your training? Did you get good training, etc.? So
Right.
get some real agent feedback. And that's what I would recommend. And honestly, man, just look for a broker that has a good split, because at the end of the day, as a real estate agent, you're running your own business. Sure, you can start as a handicap and close some of your broker's leads, but if you're seriously trying to make it within real estate, you need to be running off of your own marketing.
Right.
And so if you're doing your own marketing, you're working your own appointments, you're setting your own schedule. I mean, just get a good split, So just
Okay.
get a good split.
Perfect. And I want to, on the back end of this, I want to get onto some of those marketing tips that you have. But I kind of want to keep it more surface just for right now. How did you support yourself when you first started? Because obviously, were you working another job or something?
Let's see. I quit cold turkey. Luckily for me, I was 19, so I was still living at home.
Okay.
Right. I had my parents for that. Right. They had a big 4-bedroom house. And so, the biggest struggle is the first 2 months when you're a real estate agent, you start working full time and you're trying to get trained, but you have this gap where it's like you're not receiving a paycheck for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard for people to get started, because a lot of people live paycheck by paycheck. So if you got to start, learn something, train and work for 2 months and not receive a check, that wipes a lot of people out of the whole opportunity. So I was lucky. I got to live with my parents' house. I was only paying like a couple $100s of rent to help my parents. So, I mean, I was in a really, really fortunate situation. But I just quit cold turkey. I had like a couple $1,000s saved up from when I was a personal banker. And that kind of got me through the gap of the 2 months of like not receiving a commission check. So
cool. Well, that works, man. How did you get those initial clients? Was it the methods that you were talking about earlier, the door knocking and the cold calling? Because I know, like you said, that's what everybody pushes and that's what everybody does.
Yeah, so like the niche that I focus on right now is called apartment locating. It might be important to kind of help you understand how I stumbled upon the industry.
Right.
It's a lot different from being a normal residential real estate agent.
Right.
So when I started my first 45 days, I was a traditional realtor, right? So like access to the MLS, and I was cold calling and door knocking, and I didn't get a single client in 45 days. I basically failed miserably as a realtor. I mean, that's just the truth. I was doing
That's what everybody does, dude. I can't tell you how many texts and stuff that I've gotten from like friends or people that I graduated with like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, hey, I'm a real estate agent now. If you're looking to get, some properties, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't hire you even if, it's just one of those things, dude. It's just, I've gotten so many texts from people saying that. So
yeah, everyone when they start, like everyone bugs their inner circle and their friends and family. Let me sell you a property. It's like, man, we know you just started yesterday.
Right, yeah.
And so, people do that. They do cold calling, and I did the same thing because I wanted to sell a house really, really bad, right? And so I started as a normal realtor, and I like I said, I bombed, man. I was so bad at cold calling. I was so bad at open houses. Like it's funny. I tell the same story. Like I was doing so bad for a month. At the time, there was this company called Turo. I even rented a Porsche when I was broke.
No way.
Parked it in front of the open house because I was 30 days in with like not a single lead. So I'm like, let me just like pretend I'm balling, So
Did it work?
You know what? I got an appointment. So I parked the Porsche that wasn't even mine in front of the open house. These nice people came in. I got my first client, and I was showing them houses and houses and houses. And then all of a sudden, they decided to wait 6 months to slightly build their credit score so they could lock down a better mortgage rate. So I had done all this work, and then my first client just vanished out of thin air. It was terrible.
Oh God, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so did you discover apartment locating right after that? Like after that 45-day period?
Yeah. So I was driving home after getting totally, just wasted my own time, right, for 45 days as a realtor. So I was driving home, and I was at a red light, and I looked over, and there was this weird sign. It was a 1-story house converted into an office, and it was like apartment locating, but it said real estate underneath. So I didn't know what was going on. So I just pulled over and walked inside. And then, it was obvious who the owner was. She had like the biggest desk. And I talked to her. I was like, hey, what is this? And she told me that she had a business helping people rent apartments. But you had to be a real estate agent. So it was really crazy, man. It's like when I walked in, people were all laid back. No one was wearing a suit. I walked in with like my tie and my suit. and she told me that her top producers made six figures, and so it was all very new to me.
Right.
Have you ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you remember that scene where Leonardo walks into like the penny stock brokerage firm, and
Yeah.
like everyone's all laid back, and the guy's like, they pay 50% commission, and Leonardo's like, what? You know, he couldn't even believe the earning potential.
Right.
Kind of like that. You know, I
Okay.
walked into this apartment locating office not knowing what it was, and the broker's like, oh yeah, you know, my top producers make six figures, and you know, I was like, what is this business? Yeah, it's sort of like.
Right.
So that's how I started. So she's like, you can start like tomorrow on Monday if you want.
Like for them, was she a broker or was like,
Broker.
oh,
Yeah,
she was?
she's a broker in the town, and you know, she's like, you can start if you have your license, and I failed as a realtor, so it's like, what did I have to lose? So
Right.
you know, that's how I stumbled upon apartment locating.
Okay. And for those people who don't know, just like in layman's terms, like apartment locating, essentially you are helping people to find apartments in an area, right?
Yeah, so you're brokering like a renter, a potential tenant to an apartment complex, basically.
Right.
So it's like multifamily, right? So you know, multifamily means any building where it's like a condo, you know, quadruplex, duplex, apartment complex, or a townhome. But most of multifamily is like a standard apartment complex.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just helping everyday rentals, you know, broker that, and
So
you're
how long was it until you got your first client or converted your first, apartment locating?
Yeah, so it was like 6 days. I started in the office and I was new, you know, I didn't know what was going on. So
Right.
it was a new business model, but I worked the first 5 days, like Monday through Friday, just making appointments like for the weekend. I was seeing people wanted to come in, probably because they were off of work. So I was just making appointments, you know, not closing anyone Monday through Friday. And
Right.
then on Saturday, two of my appointments came in, and then they applied to an apartment. Like the second apartment I showed them, and the first one after like a 20-minute appointment. And then the third client I closed on that day, it was like a walk-in, because a lot of people walk into these apartment locating offices a lot.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. But so someone just walked in and I helped them. So it was like three people in one day. So like my first close was like three closes. It was
In
really,
one day.
yeah, and on a Saturday. So.
Okay. And for those people who don't know, okay, so the commission on closing someone and getting them to sign a lease, can you tell them that?
Oh yeah, so what I see on average is about 75 to 100% of the first month's rent. So if you lease like a 3 bedroom that's $1,600, then you made $1,600. And so a lot of the times though, you'll notice that some properties, if they have like units that are sitting and no one's rented them for whatever reason for a month, then they'll pay you like up to 200% of the first month's rent. So that 1,700, that $1,600 3 bedroom could be double that if they want to just get rid of it. And it happens all the time.
Dude, that's
So,
crazy, man. So it must have been just like a paradigm shift, like a complete, like you went from the first 45 days making absolutely nothing, and then on the sixth day of being with them, you literally signed 3 apartment leases, right?
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Which could have been like $3,000 in that one day.
Yeah, it's actually closer to $4,000 in a day. It's like
Cool.
3,900. Yeah.
Okay, so since we're kind of here, obviously you scaled that business, you figured out all of it, and I want to get into like more of the specifics on that. But like, what was your biggest day apartment locating?
Oh, like netting commission wise?
Yeah.
Oh, so that was interesting. I do remember this day because it was very part of it was luck. But I had, every weekend I close at least two people. Every apartment locator will agree. Like, weekends are just the busiest. So if you don't close two people on a weekend, like you're doing something wrong. So
Right.
it was just a Saturday. And my appointments came in, and I think I leased like two bedrooms, like 1,300 here, 1,250 here,
Right.
whatever, class B. And then I had this person call. This is very interesting because it's never happened at the time, but this guy had an apartment picked out, right? So what it was so particular. That's why I remember it. But
Mm-hmm.
this guy, he had a big family and he had a pit bull, right? And so if you notice, like with apartments, a lot of dogs are breed restricted, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard to like lock down everything you want in an apartment and for them to accept the pit bull. And so
Right.
this guy called me, and for my ads, and he was like, hey, listen, like we need help finding a 3 bedroom townhome style apartment which is, even rarer. And he's like, we got one locked down that will accept a pit bull. Can you give us other options? So, he came in and so he came in and I basically I was checking to see if I could like sort of give him options that match what he had found. The
Right.
whole thing took like less than 10 minutes. There weren't any other options, so he was going to go apply to the one that he found. And so I just, after giving him 10 minutes of my time, I just asked him, I'm like, hey, listen, do you mind listing my name on your application just so I can get credit, for the referral? And he was like, sure, buddy, you've helped us for 10 minutes and you showed us the database. And so now we're confident on this option.
Right.
He leased this 3-bedroom that like no one was leasing for a month. So they paid me 200%. It was $1,700. So it was like a $3,400 lease with like less than 10 minutes of work because this guy had such a particular situation. And
Wow.
he didn't mind writing my name down. Like they don't know how much commission, you know what I mean?
Right. So ask for the close is pretty much like, like the lesson to be learned.
Yeah, so it was like 3,400 plus like 1,200 or 1,250. So I probably make close to $55,000 or $6,000 in a single day. It doesn't happen every day, but it did happen that Saturday.
So like, what was the mental shift like going from, you were working at a bank, you were probably making like $8 an hour or something to like now you're able to make a couple grand just like on one weekend?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was getting paid more as a busboy than I was as a bank teller. Isn't that ironic?
That's ironic.
Suit on.
Because they were tipping you out, is that why?
Yeah, the tips.
Right. Got it. But was there any mental shift there, like from like, I mean, because you were probably a younger kid at the time. You were what, like 20 or something. That's a good amount of money to be making as a kid.
Yeah. I went through a period where like I spent too much money, because I went from, like you said, like making $10 an hour to like, 10 grand, part time seamlessly. And it's like I was in this sales job where you're not even selling anyone anything. You're just helping them because the service is free. I don't know if I mentioned. So it's like you don't charge your clients anything. So it's like, why would they not work with you if it's free?
Right.
So I went from making, $10 an hour to over 10 grand easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of like freaked out the first year. And like my first car that I bought was like a brand new, like, I think it was like a Cadillac CTS V. And it was wild. I was just like spending too much money left and right as like this 19-year-old.
Right.
And so that I needed to kind of get that in control and, and just stop spending that much money. I was eating at Whole Foods every day. It was crazy.
I love it, man. I love it. But then you ended up dialing it back down though.
Yeah, I had to, because, it's like you look in your bank account and it's like, I just had a few over $10,000 months. Like, why do I only have $6,000 liquid? It didn't even make sense. So it's just like, I had to really just like kind of handle and get that into control. But the whole thing is a big mindset shift because you're scheduling your own hours. And so it's really hard to, do well one weekend where it's like you make $5,000 and then it's like show up that next Monday because, you've made a lot of money. So,
right.
Because you just want to sleep in because you can, and no one's going to get upset.
Right.
And so it's hard. It's hard to just keep on, pushing yourself and just continue going to work, even though you're making money.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard at first.
So was the brokerage, the brokerage that was apartment locating that you went to initially, were they relying solely on foot traffic in order to put these people in?
It's a good question. It's unbelievable how traditional their marketing methods were. So the broker I was with, they literally did nothing but manual Craigslist posting and then just waiting for walk-ins because they had a good location. That's all they did. Like they didn't know what a sales funnel was or what, how to build a website or pixel code or Facebook ads. Like none of that, all of that was foreign to them.
Right.
And it still is. And it's funny, you'll see in the industry, like a lot of the apartment locating industry is so small. It's like no one markets in the most optimized ways, ever. So,
right. So how did you evolve the strategy? So like, cause you could have solely relied on the walk-in traffic from that business. It sounded like you were doing pretty good from just the walk-in traffic.
I did for a year.
Right. So what was the transition? What was like, this can be even bigger and, how did you go about kind of crafting that?
Yeah, so the first year I was just doing traditional methods like walk-ins and waiting for my broker's leads, closing them, making 10 grand or more. So like I freaked out the first year. I was like, I made six figures. So I freaked out the first year. It was crazy. And then the second year, I started working with corporate clients with an apartment locating. That's
Right.
a whole nother topic, but you can work with companies actually, and it's funny. You can lease a whole team of their staff apartments, like
Right.
blank lease. It's crazy.
That
So
is crazy. And I want to get into how you do that as well. So
for sure, that's awesome. So I did that the second year. So like the first year I worked full time. Well, full time was like 30 hours a week for me. So I guess that's part time. But I was working very hard the first year, and then the second year when I started working with corporate clients and doing apartment locating, I was working part time, and then I did six figures. And so like after a year or two of making six figures, it just you get used to it. So it's not that exciting. Like 10 grand a month is not that exciting anymore. Um,
damn, bro. Dude, I've never made six figures. That sounds pretty exciting to me. I gotta tell you, 10 grand a month.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, dude, some businesses make eight or nine figures a year. Like it's
Wow. Some people in this industry.
no, not in apartment locating.
Okay.
Like in general,
But
like
you said you know people who make how much?
say again.
Well, I was saying you said something about nine figures. Who makes nine figures a month? Is that what you're saying?
I was just
Or a
saying like
year?
there are businesses that make seven, eight
Right.
figures, nine figures. It's
Right.
all
Right.
levels, the stuff in life. Like you
Absolutely.
get comfortable with the level, and it's not a big deal anymore.
All
So.
right. All right. Okay.
Um,
So, but like, what was the transition though? So, like, when were you like, okay, I can make this bigger?
Yeah, so the second year I worked part time and did six figures. I was just getting very, very used to it. So then I just started taking some of my money and I started just playing around with other online businesses. Facebook, learning Facebook ads was really popular.
Right.
You could do something called a social media marketing agency.
Mm-hmm.
Just by running Facebook ads for people. That was like a business that was blowing up back then.
Right.
So I had extra money to work with. It wasn't really exciting making six figures from apartment locating anymore. So then I started playing around with these other online businesses. I did Amazon FBA. That was really fun. Just all the online businesses that you can do.
Right.
What I realized is that getting good at those businesses kind of required me to learn about sales funnels and like targeted marketing and pixel management and Google ads, etc.
Right.
At the time, it was all foreign to me, because I was making six figures with Craigslist. So I had to learn all these weird methods for other online businesses. But then when it clicked, and then I put two and two together, and I was like, well, why don't I just do the same thing I'm doing for marketing with these online businesses, like in my real estate business? And so
Right.
that's how I learned those other strategies. But then apartment locating became a piece of cake after I acquired that knowledge.
Wow, wow. And I would like to mention as well, because you referenced this in one of your videos, is that apartment locating can be used as like a stepping stone in order to like build that clientele for selling houses in the future, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go into in my webinar.
Mm,
It's not just a stepping stone. I think it's required, and it's crazy that no one even knows what. Like I leased realtors. Like I told you, it was the weirdest thing. I would lease people, and they would write down like realtor as their job title, and it's like you guys know you can invoice your own commission.
that's
Just
pretty wild.
no one knows about apartment locating, so.
Right.
I think it's a great way to start because as a locator, you're working with 8, 10, 12, 15 clients on average. I've done over 30, but that's on average every single month. And
Mm,
so like by the time the year is out, like you've built like 120 relationships, for the year. And so
right.
when you start with people leasing apartments, it's so much easier to reach back out to them. And a lot of the times they reach back out to you because they know you, but it's so much easier when they're ready to buy a home to represent them, right?
Right.
So you have a much higher success rate.
That's awesome. And I know like I'm gonna sign like I like to sign the 6 month leases, like so
Yeah,
if you were my apartment locator, like literally every 6 months, because like I like to move around, I like to make sure I'm in the best spot. But that just goes to show like other people probably do the same thing. They probably move around all the time, so you could literally sign two people, the same. You could sign one person to two different apartments a year, like if you really
yeah,
wanted to.
yeah. A lot of apartments pay on 10 month or over, but
Okay.
there's still a handful that will do 6 months. What's hard is less than 6 months. That's very rare to receive a commission for less than
Okay.
6 months. But no, 6 months you can earn commission, but usually I see 10 months and above.
And
Yeah.
does every state do apartment locating, or like how if someone's watching this, how would they know if their state accommodates this?
Yeah, so does every state do apartment locating? Yeah, 100%. Like I said before, real estate's very, very custom. So if you're a real estate agent, you can technically, even if the market isn't very, very hot in
Hmm.
whatever state or city you're in, as a real estate agent, you can technically still represent a client. Reach out to a building and say, I'm going to refer you this client. Will you pay me a month of the 12-month contract? And you can still get a yes very easily, because why wouldn't they? It's still profitable to them. But it's not every market that's very, very hot, right? So there's about 40 or 50 markets, and by markets I mean cities. There's like 40 or 50 cities where it's very, very popular, and
Okay.
just breeze to make a lot of money. But
Okay.
like if you try to apartment locate in Kansas in some city, it's like, yeah, you can get it done because you're in real estate, things are custom, but
Right.
it's not as seamless. It's not as automated as other cities, to earn a lot of money.
Right.
So,
And is there a list, or is it kind of by population?
oh no, so you utilize your database, and you can, and it tells you every single apartment. So I'm not actually contacting apartments like first. That would be a giant waste of time.
Right.
I just use my database, and then when you do a search for your client on your database, it tells you a list of every single apartment and what they pay. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Beautiful, man.
mhm.
I love it. Let's Talk Money wants to know what is the most he has earned in 1 month doing apartment locating?
What's up? Let's talk money. The most I've ever made in 1 month as an apartment locator was 36,000 and change. That's the most I've ever done. But that was because I blanket during that month. It was like only 4 or 5 residential apartments, but I blanket leased a short-term rental client, and that's what was the majority of that commission in a month. So
Wait, can you kind of break that down? Blanket leased a short-term rental
oh
client?
yeah, I'm using all
But just for like these people, because I'm not proficient in the industry, so I'm not really sure. You know what I mean?
of that. Sorry. So a blanket lease is like when you, how do I break this down? So when you lease a normal residential tenant into apartment, you do one application, one
Right.
contract, you know? And so if you want to lease a second unit, you do another application and another contract. But if you're a company and you want to come in and lease 20 units at once, which I've done before, instead of doing like an app fee and an application for like each of those 20 units, you just do one master lease and then one like master application. And then so the process of tying all of those units inside one contract is called a blanket lease, like because you blanket wrap them.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So multiple. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so that's what the blanket lease is.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, so I blanket leased the really interesting short-term rental client. It was just like some LLC company that was doing leveraging Airbnb rentals inside of apartment complexes. Isn't that weird?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never thought, but those companies exist, and there are a lot of them. So
Wow.
yeah, so the problem with that is a lot of buildings, they don't know how it's going to go, right?
Right.
Because they work with these short-term rental clients, it's like it's really attractive for them because it's like, oh man, this company's going to lease like 20 of our units, like we're going to fill up an occupancy super quick. So
Right.
that's positive. That's what you're trying to sell always as the representative. But then the downside is like, yeah, but are they going to party a lot? Like, are they going to be people going, like our tenants are going to be kind of annoyed? So there's like ups and downs.
Right. It's
But
all about the way you frame it, huh?
yeah, it's the way you frame it. And what I've learned in business is that you can take a fantastic opportunity, and just the way your voice sounds over the phone, or how presentable you are, you can ruin something over nothing, over just the way how you talk, and you can get deals closed. If you just show up and you say the right things, it's really, really crazy.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that you've done on your channel. You actually have a video of you calling a few of them. And so if anybody wants to check it out,
Oh
they
yeah.
can. Yeah. You were
Yeah.
representing a client, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, when I started my YouTube, I'm like, I have like 1 subscriber. So it's like, how do I wow people, right? And it's like, I know I'm just gonna record myself like, doing cold calls and for short-term rental clients and blanket leasing and making like 20 grand. So that's you can see it on my YouTube for
And
sure.
there's a lot of subtle like nuances and vocal tonalities, it like really expresses a lot. So I think, it's very, very beneficial for those, people who aren't necessarily used to talking to those type of companies they could watch that and learn a couple things.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So, what was your biggest mistake that you made your first year in real estate?
The biggest mistake that I made the first year in real estate, probably, I mean, probably starting as a normal realtor. Well, it wasn't a mistake. I did learn a lot from wasting my time for 45 days. So I guess I
Or
feel.
just the biggest lesson that you've learned like in your entirety
Oh,
of
okay, yeah, just ultimately.
yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, so what I've learned ultimately, I guess, as a real estate agent is that there is always a correct answer for everything. And that, I guess, that's like the most powerful thing I've learned. So no matter what any client throws at you or is asking you, or if you're in a meeting with like an asset manager and you're doing like a corporate lease, there's always a right answer to something. In just the way you phrase it, there's always a right answer.
Okay.
I guess that's yeah.
Well, there you go. I like it, man. So a lot of people become real estate agents. I know a ton of them. How are you able to like separate yourself from the competition? Obviously, you found a niche that was not necessarily, known as well. But like, how have you been able to separate yourself from the competition? Or had you not known about apartment locating, how would you have gone about separating yourself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, apartment locating was a solution for me as a real estate agent. But there's not a lot. The thing is, in my niche, there's not a whole lot of competition really. So like, I mean, you got apartment locators that use Yelp in 2020, like just to help you put it into perspective,
Okay, all right.
like
But I'm just saying, like, if you were just a real estate agent, you would still utilize some of the marketing tactics that you utilize to build your businesses, right?
yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. So like, what would I recommend, sort of?
Right, 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 right.
Honestly, man, the sales funnel like that, it's been so valuable for me.
Really? Okay.
A simple sales funnel. Yeah.
Okay. And just break that down and explain it to people because maybe they don't know what a sales funnel is.
Okay. So everyone knows what a website is, right?
Right.
So everyone knows that real estate agents that are successful have websites.
Right.
But the problem with websites is that they're it's so convoluted in there. And this is with any bit. It's not just real estate, but if you have a website and it's so confusing for your customers that land on the website, and you've got
Right.
like blogs like contact me, like how we started, this is our story, and you got like 100 different little tabs on where they can go. People are gonna get overwhelmed and they're gonna bounce and leave, right? And so just what a sales funnel is it's basically like a landing page, but there's no links anywhere, right? It's usually like one message and then one button, and it's one action,
Okay.
right? So if you're a real estate agent, your message is, hey, I'm a top producing real estate agent. Click here to put your info. Done. Like there's no distractions, right?
Right.
It's if you use a sales funnel, first of all, it makes you seem very professional because it's still a website and it's still very attractive. But then
Okay.
the second thing is you're gonna convert way more leads because there's only one thing to do. There aren't 100 things to do.
They won't get lost on the site. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right, cool. This guy's a top producer. I put my info here, done. Right.
Right.
There's no distractions. And so if I would recommend using a sales funnel, even with like free marketing, right? Like people, like no one does this. It's so funny, right? If you look at like Craigslist postings for real estate agents, you might find one out of like 1,000 agents that use a sales funnel. And so you can still embed your sales funnel link in free marketing like Craigslist and all these other sites, right? So when people,
Really?
yeah, and it goes to a sales funnel and it's like no one's using it.
Right.
It's like such a big asset.
So essentially, when they put because I just want to like, I was even trying to break this down to my dad, and I was like, he was like, "Oh yeah, you could do this and build out a website," and I was like, "No, he was talking about sales funnels."
Yeah.
So like basically, they would enter in their information, it would go into like your database, and you could just contact them straight from the sales funnel, right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you need to hook up, and if you're gonna want to build your list, you need to hook up like an autoresponder software. But I mean, it takes 2 seconds. It's easy to do.
Right.
And so you set up whatever autoresponder you want into your button. You just link it to your button. And so whenever you get leads that come in, and then they read, "I'm a top producer, contact me," and they put in their info and they hit the button, now they're like in your list forever.
Right.
And
Is
so
that similar to like a ManyChat, like that Facebook Messenger?
yeah, ManyChat's different. That's a Facebook Messenger bot. What I do is what I teach in my teachings is
Mhm.
so we use the sales funnel because it's the best thing to do ever. But then what I do is when they click and submit, here's a little secret, right? So when they click submit, it takes them to a thank you page. So there's only 2 pages, like your first sales funnel page and the thank
Right.
you. So on the thank you page, I link ManyChat as the button, and it's like start here. And so then they're like, well, what's this? I can start the process early, and then they click the ManyChat. So then you get them on ManyChat, and then it
Right.
auto qualifies them. So the leads I get, I convert them more because I'm using a sales funnel, and the ones that want to take an earlier jump, they're getting auto pre-qualified, and it alerts me. So like every day I wake up and it's like you've got these new leads, and then all of their pre-qual is filled out without me having to talk to them.
Okay, dude, this is why I got you on here, because like that's like a gym, bro. That's like, oh man. And you only had like 100 subscribers. I'm like, dude, this dude is a genius.
I appreciate it, man.
Because like no one, I mean, I've watched a lot of stuff. I've just started digging into the real estate stuff, but I knew that like there was some things underneath the surface that like 98% of like real estate agents were not taking advantage of. But dude, that right there, that was a golden, reason why I really mess with you.
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Storefront Flips wants to know, what do you think of the Chicago market? Do you like
Awesome. Yeah.
Chicago
No,
market's awesome?
it's a great market. I had a corporate client really want me to get them out there. They kept on bringing up Chicago. That's how I know, like when the markets are hot. If my corporate clients were like, "Help us lease in this market and then this one next," then I know it's a hot market because they do due diligence.
Right,
So
right, right. Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see, man. I'm gonna get into some of these other questions because we went a little bit ahead. You want to tell people about your course and how people can learn more
oh yeah.
about you?
Yeah, so it's been 16 months in the making. I'm like the first person or professional to ever teach apartment locating. I was very shocked when I realized that. I was, Googling it, and I'm like, wow, you can get like there's like zero support with apartment locating. And so I just decided to spend a big part of my life making a master class. And so the people that follow me, they've been waiting months for me to release this master class. And it's just like A to Z, exactly what apartment locating is, how you can get started with apartment locating,
Right.
why it's the best way to get started. Even if you're trying to sell homes, it's still the best way to get started because you can make 6 figures while setting up relationships only to then sell them a home later, right? So it's just an A to Z basically blueprint on how to do apartment locating in the best way. And then I teach all of my like online marketing tactics that I use to scale my online businesses within the course to scale your apartment locating business. So that's what it's all about.
Right. Beautiful, beautiful. And that's kind of what this is about as well. Emmanuel Doe wants to know, when's the real estate collapse going to happen?
Yeah, that's funny. I was just Googling and YouTubing that too, right? People think it's like right now. But
Really?
yeah, but that's the thing, man. Like
People always think it's like the end of the
now,
right.
Yeah, I remember in 2014, my broker was like, "You should buy a home right now because it's going to appreciate." And I was like, "No, I think the market's going to crash next year." And then like just last year, I had a conversation with her, and she was like, "Hey, look at this house property value," and it like almost doubled. And she's like, "You should have bought it when I told you." And it's like, "All right, I will never like try
You
to,
tell me what to do from here on out, and I'm
yeah,
listening.
never gonna try to call the market. Like I don't know what's going on.
Right. Dude, when I'm trying to look stuff up like that, like I don't look it up on Google anymore because Google like messes with the search rankings and search return.
Yeah.
Dude, so like anytime I'm looking something up, I always go on DuckDuckGo and I'll look it up because
Oh,
just the search, the search results aren't all
yeah.
messed with.
They're not skewed like that. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
Dude, there's a lot of truth in conspiracy theories, and Google and YouTube, they like suppressed all this conspiracy theory stuff. So like you can't even find it anymore if you're searching it through. So I just always search everything through DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah,
Dude, there was actually this thing that came out. I think there was like a lawsuit against Google for messing around with the search results or whatever. And there was like this big thing. A bunch of news outlets were covering it, and then you go on the front page of Google, and then like under their news section, there was nothing listed about them messing with the search results. You know what I mean? So they can hide
yeah.
news that they don't want getting out there.
Oh, easily, I bet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a little ironic. Everyone keeps asking what's your YouTube channel. And we just had it up on the screen. It's Real Estate Duck Hunters, right?
Yeah, real estate duck hunters. You guys are interested? Yep.
Okay, absolutely. Jonathan wants to know, are you in the Dallas Fort Worth market, or he might be asking if that's a good market?
Oh, Dallas is fantastic. I work there all the time. No, I live in Austin.
Okay.
So I'm in the Austin, Texas market. But I mean, when you're licensed in one state, man, you can work anywhere. So it's like, why would you not? When you work remotely with apartment locating and win, why would you not do the same thing in Dallas or Houston or San Antonio or College Station?
So can you be located in where you're at and still service clients in all those areas?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, because your license covers the state.
That's
So
crazy, man. That's
yeah.
crazy. Because I'm gonna get into this in just a second because we got a couple more questions, but I want to get into like how initially you walk people. I forgot exactly what it's called, but you walk them through the apartments, but now you've gotten to the point where you don't do that anymore, right?
Oh yeah. And I try to never do that.
Okay, but initially you did, right? Initially you would tour them through the apartments, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, how do you make that transition though? And like, is there any like let's get into this in a second because we got a question here. Okay, what's the most common objective or excuse as a realtor, or the most difficult deal you've ever had to close?
Honestly, like the short-term rental corporate client blanket lease they're so hard. They're so profitable because when you get a client and they're easy to get, there's several, and like why wouldn't they want your help for free? So
Right,
it's easy to get a client, and it's cool because the client's goal is to lease 1,000 units. Like like the more units they have in their portfolio, they're just gonna rent them on Airbnb and profit. So as a locator, it's awesome because it's like, you blank at least 20 units here, make 30 grand. And they're like, woohoo, can you do it again for us in this building? And you're like, duh. And so that's fantastic, right? It's like never ending business. But the thing is, it's so controversial because the properties, it works better at lease ups if the building isn't that occupied, because it's like the buildings love these clients when they're low in occupancy because they're like, man, this client wants at least like 30 units. This is awesome. But then they don't want to annoy their tenants, because if you annoy the real tenants that are there for a year contract,
right.
you get bad reviews, the word spreads. So there's like negativity and there's positivity. But so that's the hardest client that I had to close in my niche is a short-term rental client.
Okay, super awesome, man. Yeah, Emmanuel Doe says commercial buildings are getting hit by the collapse, but I don't know, people say the collapse. I don't know, man. I don't know. So anyway, okay, so like let's go back. So I think people, because whenever you talk about real estate agent, you're thinking like, okay, so you are showing people each apartment and then they end up signing a lease, but that's not necessarily the case at all. You could stay home all day and still make the amount of money you make. So can you kind of explain that a little bit as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you don't show them each apartment, even if you're doing it when you're gonna drive and tour to the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I never recommend doing that. That's how you make less money. Well, I guess I'll go into that here in a second. Yeah.
Right, right.
But every apartment locating broker teaches it that way. That's what motivated me to do a YouTube and just
Okay.
like, hey, like don't do it that way. So the reason they teach it that way is because they don't understand these online marketing tactics to
Right.
automate things. So it's not their fault. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. So if you don't know, what is proven is that when you do in-person appointments with clients, escort them and take them to the property, your closing ratio is very, very high. So because brokers understand that you have a higher closing ratio when you go in person, meet with them and take them out, they're like, well, just do what helps you close more. But what I've realized, because I've been in the industry for 6 years, is if you work people remotely, you close less, right? So if you've got like a 50% chance on closing someone in person, but
Right.
then you work them over the phone, you might have a 20% chance, right? So yeah, you do close less remotely, but
Right.
I can talk to more clients in under 10 minutes each client. You know, in 2 hours, I can talk to 10 people.
Right.
You can't do 10 appointments in 2 hours.
Right. So you make up in numbers for what you lack in.
It's the quantity, right?
Right.
I'm sitting at home just going through these less than 10-minute conversations. 20 of them close, but I talked to 12 people. So that's like 2 or 3 grand guaranteed
Right.
in
Well,
like 2 hours.
and
So
okay, so all these people are pretty much going to sign and sign a lease. But like, how do you control if they don't put your name down? I guess you don't. Like, some people can just take your list and roll and like not even.
Yeah, technically, but it's very unlikely that that happens though, because I save a really detailed template as my email responder,
Mhm.
right? And I also what I do, another little secret here that I teach, but I pre-record myself talking on my cell phone like selfie style, so it seems like I'm actually doing it. I pre-record that in my best outfit whenever I greet people initially, and when I follow up with them. And so it's funny, like it increases my closing ratio because people think I'm actually putting the effort.
Can
And
you kind of give an example of what you would say? Like, hey, thanks so much for.
yeah, it's like, hey, listen, thanks so much, for calling us. We're the top brokerage firm in the city. And then what else do I say after I tell them that we're established brokerage firm, and then something like, our service is totally free. We don't, it doesn't change the market rent going through us, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work for you. So it's like 15 seconds, right? But the thing is, you can take your time, put on your best outfit, do your best selfie video,
Right.
save it. So now whenever I'm having these conversations back to back, I just text them the video. So, and then so they're like, oh my God, when they see your face, it's like, oh, this guy's really working with me, because video is the best way to communicate. You know,
Right.
save the greeting video, and then I save like a follow-up video. And I'm
Right.
like, hey, listen, we're just thinking about you in the office. Like, we wanted to know what apartment you selected, and if you need any help from us, like, please let me know. I appreciate the chance to work for you. So then you got your follow-up video.
Right. And they're so much more likely to probably respond to a video rather than a text.
Yeah, and then no one's gonna not write your name down. It doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
You hit people with these videos automatically, and you've got everything in your email template that's automated. You're reminding them constantly over email, over text. So I mean, it doesn't. It's free, man. No one's gonna forget.
Dude, that's so cool, man. So are you compiling all of these people into like some sort of a database to where you can like recontact them in the future and like yeah?
So I don't do that with the apartment locating database.
Right.
It's still just not at the level that I want it to be. So what I
Mhm.
do is, that's why I use a sales funnel. Whenever I run even free ads, they come to my sales funnel, and then when they click the button, it gets imported into my autoresponder. So my autorespond, I use Active Campaign. I think it's the best one. People are
Okay.
like, what about MailChimp? Like, Active Campaign is the best one. Okay.
Okay.
I'm
We trust you.
not affiliated with them at all,
Right,
but
right.
so when I Active Campaign is like basically my CRM. That's my customer relation machine. So
Okay.
all the info gets stored on there, and then I walk through like very detailed steps on how to like automate text, because Active Campaign will not only email them, it'll text them too. So with email, with text, and then with ManyChat, which is linked on the back end of my sales funnel, there's like 3 communication mediums. So that,
Right.
whenever, it's so much easier to build relationships with people. And then when they're interested in buying a house, then they reach out to you because you're automatically, talking to them.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious as to like if you ever reached out to them, like let's say I bought an apartment from you like a year ago, if
Mhm.
there's any ongoing like reaching out, like, hey, I hope everything's working good, or I don't know. I was just like a CRM or something that would kind of like
Yeah, sorry, I thought I didn't answer that very well. So yes, I do that quarterly, every 3 months.
cool.
Active Campaign on text and email
Okay.
and chat. So,
What? So what does that message look like? Could you tell us or
oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm an open book, man. You know
you're the
that.
man, bro. You're the man.
So it's Here, let me see here. I got something on my desk.
Because that's just so smart. Like literally you said you can help out like over 100 people a year. And you think if you did that for 5 years, that's 500 people. And if you were able to maintain a contact with them, I mean, dude, anytime they move, you're like their go-to guy. It's like, hey bro, I'm moving.
Dude,
Like,
even before my autoresponders were set up, I still had people reach out to me like, "Hey, can you help me buy a home?" I didn't even have anything set up. So check this out.
yeah,
Do you see that? It's flipped.
that's
It's
okay. Did you work? What did it say?
no, and then it's like it's kind of cool. It's like, did you know it's like your rent? So it has rent right here,
Right.
and then it's like lost money over the years, and it's like 5 years, 15 years, 30 years. So it's trying to get them to buy a house.
Right. Okay. I
I've got
got you.
I've got cool little images like that attached to my autoresponders that are getting sent out quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like stuff like that, and it's stuff like, hey, I never try to ask for anything because you're building a relationship. You got to really be careful with the way you set up your messages. If
Right.
you feel like you're selling them something or you're asking too much, now you're just annoying. So I set stuff up where it's like, hey, listen, where I was thinking about you in the office. Like, I just wanted to make sure everything was going good with your apartment. And I'd love to build a positive relationship with you when you're interested in buying a home in the future. Just keep it very short and simple, right? You don't
Right.
Marketers have these like long emails, and it's like, don't do that. When you do short emails, it's real, you know. And so that's all I'll do. That in like a picture where it's like, you should buy a house. I
Right.
keep it simple, but I'm not doing it. It's automatically every quarter hitting all of the leads that I've ever worked. So then
Dude,
they,
that is so cool, man.
yeah,
Dude, that is all because like ultimately that's what I tell people, especially like with pressure washing. Like once you build this core base of like people who do business with you, I mean you're talking about referrals, you're talking about people like on a recurring basis. I mean you can literally you build your own sales funnel, and it's like people are just constantly going in and out of it. So it's just so cool that you can build that and then stay in constant contact with them.
automatically with no effort.
Wow. How many, I mean, not how many, but like you've obviously converted a lot of these people and sold houses to them, right? That's relatively easy to do. What would you rather, selling houses or doing apartment leases?
Honestly, like when you sell a home, it's just such more of a big deal. You can convert anywhere from like 5 to 20% of your yearly locating clients into homeowners. So
Okay.
that's the range you'll see, 5 to 20%.
5 to 20%. So literally you could close like 5 to 20 people if you're doing 100 clients a year.
Yeah, which is average. Because if you do 10 clients a month in 12 months, it's 120 people. So
Dude.
not all of them are ready to buy a home the next year, obviously,
Right.
but 5 to 20% might.
Dude, that is wild, bro. Like this is what I'm saying. Just so much value that you're giving. That's why I had to have you on here. So you don't have a preference. You just said it's a bigger deal if you sell a home.
Yeah, so the cool thing, everyone wants to sell a home because it's a very, very big payout. You
Right.
know, home, it can be up to 20 grand in a paycheck, which makes saving a lot easier when you have a lump sum. So I
Right.
get it, right? I get it. But that's the same reason that apartment locating has been overlooked, right? Because it's like, oh, it's only a grand commission. Like when you start adding things up, it's like, yeah, it's a grand commission 4 times in a day. It's the same thing. And so everyone wants to sell a home, but the thing about selling homes and why I like leasing apartments better than selling homes is because it's so much more laid back helping someone rent an apartment. No one's asking you complicated things like what are the comparables. Let's negotiate. There is no negotiating in apartments, right?
Right.
So like let's sign a buyer rep. Let's make sure the terms are accurate. Like let's go over the HUD-1 settlement form. Like none of these things exist in the
HUD-1 settlement form. I don't even know what that is, but that sounds crazy.
closing thing, right?
Right.
It's
Like they
like
don't have to have inspections and all that kind of stuff too.
you set up an inspection. It's like, all right, well, who's going to pay the inspection? Seller's like, I don't want to. Buyer's like, well, I don't want to. So then it takes you back to negotiation. It's just like there's like 10 steps to sell a home, and people take it very, very seriously because they're purchasing, right?
Yeah.
So you get 10 or 20 grand on a close. If you want to work harder, and answer a lot more questions. But with an apartment complex, someone calls you. I get calls like this all the time. You get a call, hey, listen, I needed to move in like yesterday. Do you guys have anything around my job? You send him like 8 options, and then he applies and you make $1,200. Like, why, so
Right. A lot less headache.
yeah, and you can do it from home. So that's why I like apartment locating better.
Right. And I want to talk to you about Facebook advertisements because I talk a lot on my channel about like how I'm able to generate business off of Facebook ads. Obviously, like when you go into like the pixel and things like that, like you're really getting into some, I don't know, the deeper end of the Facebook ads. Do you have any, I know you've run a lot of them. Do you have any like simple tips or anything that you can kind of go over for basically what works on Facebook as far as advertisements go?
Dude, I have 100 free tips for you, bro.
Okay, beautiful, man.
Yeah, so the first thing I see that no one does is they don't prep the ad first. So if you're gonna run a paid advertisement on Facebook targeted ads,
Mhm.
first of all, do it through Business Manager. Some people like run ads on their personal accounts because Business Manager is very glitchy and it's very challenging to get set up right. So you got to go to business.facebook.com. That's how you know you're really running professional ads, right? And
Okay.
then go get through it. And Facebook's so annoying because they change things up on you all the time. And so it's like, it's like it worked one way, now it works a different way, and they change things all the time. So once you get through the headache of setting up a business account with Facebook, then what you want to do is you want to take your ad and you want to you build it out, and then you want to run it through engagement campaign in foreign countries like Iran, Pakistan,
Right.
India, because it's like a tenth of a cent to build up all these likes, which is social proof.
Right.
Your ad with like 100 likes before you run it, then you take that ad ID, it's like a piece of code, and then it's getting kind of technical, but then you paste it into a new campaign, that code, and it has your social proof attached to it. So now you're running an ad in the US with like 100 likes that costs you like $1.
Right.
And
I
so
tell people the same thing with the social proof. I just tell them to get their friends and family to comment on it and, give referrals.
yeah, that
Right.
helps too. And so, you do that first. And so that's one tip, right? Prep it with social proof first. What are some other tips that I can send you?
Video performs better than just a still image
Yeah, video performs like incredibly so much better, like
because
almost like
it breaks up the swiping pattern, right?
yeah. So with your creative, so the creative is like the image or the video, and you really want to have something like bright colored, and something like what I do a lot is I have someone like making it rain because people are like, "What's going on?" and then they read your ad, and it's like,
What?
yeah. I wish I could show you one of the ads I created, but
That'd be dope, yeah. I'll watch your video. So anybody who wants some good Facebook ad advice, definitely go check out his channel because there's some great stuff on there.
real estate duck hunters, thank you.
That's right. No, absolutely. Because I was watching your video and you were talking about breaking up the swipe pattern, and you even showed some of your ads that you have for real estate agents. Like I saw the one where the guy was sitting there and it was like 10 tips to sell your home, and then like he smiled and he was like, "Just call us and we'll do it all for you" or something.
Yeah, if you can dive into people's psychology, like if you make them laugh or you make them upset or whatever, make them sad, you got to be careful on the ads you run. But
But
it's a good way to break the scrolling pattern, and then they'll really look into your ad. The other thing that I would recommend is a lot of people. It's so funny, man. A lot of people optimize their ads to get well, they charge you when people see it. I like to, as a real estate agent, I like to optimize my ad where I get charged only if they click. So, because if people just see your ad, that doesn't do much for you. But
right.
if you get charged when they click it, then now your ad is very precise. And it's like, hey, don't click here unless you need help finding an apartment. Like, no one's going to
Wow.
need help finding an
Dude,
apartment.
that is beautiful. And then what you can do is you can pixel them, right? And so all the people who click but didn't convert, you can retarget,
Um, yeah,
right? Or no? Is
yeah,
that
you
not right?
you can do that. The pixeling I've noticed for apartment locating in particular is
Mhm.
just not necessary. That's
Okay.
where yeah, but if you're running like an e-commerce store, that it's very important.
Okay.
Very important to retarget people because if you're selling like a $20, $50 uh like pet cat toy or something, it's like they might not buy the first time, but if you pixel them, you're seasoning your pixel.
Okay.
run something called a lookalike audience is underused a lot, and it's
Okay.
very valuable. So lookalike audiences, once you have a lot of a lot of people's information inside of your Facebook pixel code,
Right.
then you can run a lookalike audience as the last step, and Facebook will match people that are very similar to the ones that have already clicked. So then you can reach a new audience that are similar to your current people. It's very underused because it's very technical, but that's how it becomes very profitable.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The last thing is a lot of real estate agents say that Facebook ads don't work. It's probably because they're running it one time and then sort of giving up. So if you really optimize, because there's so many moving parts, Facebook is such a beast. I mean, like your title has to be clear, then your creative has to be good. Your targeting, there's like 10 factors before you can start running a profitable ad. And if
Absolutely.
you mess something up along the creation, it can become not profitable. But that's not because Facebook doesn't work. It's because they're not running it the right way.
Right. And it's almost the same thing. Like, it's like if you try to upload a YouTube video without any idea of what, stuff that does well on the platform, it's like it wouldn't do anything, because you don't have good context on what works.
Yeah.
Because I tell people a lot, like people come to me like, just I'm spending hundreds of dollars in Facebook advertisements trying to build my business. And I'm like, dude, you gotta mess around, because there's like so many different little tweaks you can make and adjustments. If people want to learn more from you about Facebook advertisements, I know you got the video, but does your course delve deep into Facebook ads?
Only for apartment locators and real estate agents.
Okay, but some of that information is probably still applicable, though, right?
Um, yeah, in the sense of on how to set things up properly. But the thing is, like, I can't with if you're gonna really offer real successful Facebook ad training, you have to be particular. So like my Facebook ad training in the course is for apartment locators and real
Okay,
estate agents only. Because it's like you can't, if you try to teach Facebook ads in general, like none of your students are gonna get success.
right,
They're going to run through ad spend and then be upset with you. So everything is like the more targeted you are, the more focused and laser targeted you are on Facebook, that's when the profits come in. So you can only teach Facebook ads for a specific purpose.
okay,
You can't be like, hey, generally do this. Like that doesn't work. That's how you fly through ad spend. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
absolutely. And how much money would you say like would be a good ad spend for an apartment locator?
Oh, okay. To get some a couple $100 will do the trick. It's actually we're lucky as apartment locators. It's very easy to run paid advertisements if you're doing it right. So if you have like a very very clear title and it's like only click here if you need an apartment within 60 days. Like you have to make it clear because if people are like, ooh, that's a pretty video and click it, you're getting charged and you're like, no, like I just got charged and they didn't even need to lease an apartment. So,
Right.
you got to be careful, right? You see how it's easy to run through money if you're doing it wrong.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
a very clear, precise ad. It's actually very easy because people see it and they go, "Oh, cool! I'll just click here because I need an apartment within 60 days," and then
Right.
you get a lead. There's no need to like repixel them and retarget because when people click, you call them and you close them so quick. They're in a lease contract for a year. So like, why would you repixel them and remarket them when they're already in a contract?
Right. But it's wasted ad spend, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
I was talking to my buddy Gus today, and it's like basically once you figure out how to get the business, it's almost more beneficial to run on some businesses, maybe not in this business. It's almost more beneficial just to run other people's Facebook advertisements and stuff for them, right? Is that
yeah,
why you created that you do that still?
I used to do that full time with this company. I stepped out of it to do my own masterclass. That's where my focus is. But I have partners that still run the same business that we started for. It's called an SMMA,
Right.
social media marketing agency. So it is profitable. It is profitable, and it's a good business because if you're truly a Facebook ad expert and like you're real, then you
Right.
can really provide value for people that don't know how to do it right. Because like I said, it's very easy to just jump on Facebook and waste money by accident.
Right. No, absolutely. And you can do it remotely too. You don't have to be wherever they are. You can kind of run somebody's stuff from a different place.
Yeah, exactly. Just the only thing that I don't like, I mean, I love the SMMA model. It's a cool business, the social media marketing agency. But the only thing is that like, a lot of these like if you're gonna work, my advice would be if anyone's interested in working with an SMMA, I would go to a smaller company because like the really big ones that have like dozens and dozens or hundreds of clients, like it's physically impossible to run advertisements and manage them and optimize them for 200 people if you're like a team of 4. Like
Right.
possible, right? And so
Right.
what's happening is they're outsourcing it.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
I don't want to get outsourced. I want the actual expert to help me. So, if you work with a small company, like they don't have a choice. They're going to have to really run the ads for you themselves. And so, yeah, in that sense, I think it's a great business.
Absolutely. Well, what's your plans going forward, and like, what's your ultimate goal with real estate? Like, are you looking to stay in the real estate industry, like continue to do the apartment locating, or what's your plan?
Yeah, I plan on continuing to do an apartment locating. Like I said, it's always been part time for me. With not I work full time, but as far as apartment locating, that's always been part time for me, even for years. So like 15 to 30 hours of my week, it's not a lot of time to dedicate to apartment locating and still make a lot of money. So that will never stop. But I'm going to cut back. I'm going to cut back some of the hours. And now that I'm releasing like my first program where I'm helping people in their career as an apartment locator, I want to really focus on that and just like do nothing but actually help my students get results. So that way they have results and I have testimonials and everybody wins.
Right.
I'm just going to focus on YouTube and giving out more content for free and then helping my students actually get to the next level for real. So that's what I'll be focusing on.
Yeah, man, you definitely have some good content. And we're going to see if we can't get an affiliate link on this video for the course. So if anybody's watching this and wants the course, there will be an affiliate link in the comment section.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll generate a code for you guys. So then we'll give your viewers a more of a discount than normal.
Come on, a little discount. Come on, and I'll have, maybe I can have like an affiliate thing. And we'll like a little, you know what I mean? They enter a code and they save something.
Yeah, it's got to work for everyone. It's got to work for me. It's got to work for you, and it has to work for your viewers. So they're going to get a real discount. So
I love that, man. I love that. And how long did it take you to make this? You call it a master class, right?
yeah, like over 16 months. It's been crazy.
Dude, that is wild. I know, man. Building courses it's a beast, and you almost have to like one bite at a time, almost attack it.
It's like literally all of my knowledge and my brain is in the master class.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about Facebook ads. Were you self-taught? What did you like? Where were you looking? How did you teach yourself all this, especially all the softwares that you use as well?
Yeah, so it's funny. I hired an ad agency for just a little bit, like a few weeks,
Right.
Before I was proficient with Facebook ads. I had like minimal results, but it's like I would see these companies charge thousands a month. So it's like I know it was a real business model. Like there's no way a company will charge their clients thousands a month if it wasn't working.
Right.
So that kind of helped me understand that Facebook and targeted ads was a real opportunity. But where the real knowledge came in, where I really started being proficient, is when I started scaling some of my online businesses because that's what was required, right?
Right.
When I started scaling those businesses, I started learning. I had to learn so much about Facebook, and that's when, like I said, I took a step back and I was like, "What if I did this for apartment locating? No one else is doing it," and then it worked tremendously. So
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. I love how all that came together.
yeah, it's wild.
Right, absolutely. Well, dude, that's pretty much all the questions that I have. Is there anything else you want to share on here? Any other, advice, tidbits, where they can find you, anything like that?
I guess so. So we're doing the first webinar tomorrow. So we're gonna get that going tomorrow, and I'm just gonna teach people about how I stumbled upon apartment locating, similar to this interview,
Right.
in a more structured way. So yeah, I'll just be doing a webinar tomorrow and then releasing the course. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on.
And the webinar, I kind of asked you this before. Will the webinar be linked on the course page? Like, will you be able to watch the replay of it?
Yeah,
Or where will it be at?
Yeah, because I'm going to drop the link in my private Facebook group. I mean, everyone's welcome to join, but that's where the link will be displayed tomorrow. I'm going to be like, all right, it's starting, boom. And so when people go on there and then go over the webinar, there will be a replay button as well, so in case people click on it and it's over. They
Right.
can do a replay button and watch the replay as well. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Well, Pierre, dude, I appreciate you so much for coming on here. If anybody wants to know, all Pierre's information will be in the comment section and the description, as well as the course link and all that kind of stuff. So y'all can make sure y'all go check him out and subscribe to his YouTube channel.
Justin, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for reaching out. I hope my channel added some value to you as well with real estate.
Dude, you provide so much value. Just yeah, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, bro. I love it. That's why I had to have you on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
All right, Pierre. Bye. Peace, man.